I've played a lot of video games in my time. I'm not a hardcore gamer by any stretch of the imagination. I don't pretend to be. But I played a lot of video games in my life. For the longest time, my favorite video games ever were the X-Wing and TIE Fighter games, and by extension, X-Wing versus TIE Fighter. Man, I put in ungodly amounts of hours playing those games. Love them so much. Then came along World of Warcraft. And for many, many years, Warcraft was my all-time favorite game. And again, the amount of literal years worth of hours I put into playing World of Warcraft over the decades is embarrassing and unspeakable. But then, a couple of years ago, a new game became my all-time favorite game. That game was Baldur's Gate 3. As close to a true, because you know, me and my wife, Ann, we like playing Dungeons and Dragons. It is as close to a real Dungeons and Dragons session as you can get in a video game format. The characters were great. The writing was elite. The story was fantastic. The gameplay immaculate. And just overall, the best game experience I've ever had. I love this game. It's my all-time favorite. And of course, it did go on to win Game of the Year, deservingly so. But you know what? I never thought, ever even remotely imagined that we would ever get a Baldur's Gate HBO series. Never thought we'd get that. Never thought that would happen. And I certainly never thought it would happen by one of the most award-laden, Emmy award-winning, one of the best show creators in the business today. Not Ronald D. Moore, but the guy who made simply the best miniseries of all time in Chernobyl, and then took a video game franchise, Last of Us, and got both of its seasons nominated for the highest honor in all of television, Best Drama Series. Multi-time award-winning Craig Mazin, I should say, is doing a Baldur's Gate 3 sequel series for HBO. This comes to us from the folks over at Tech Radar, who wrote the following. Per Deadline, the celebrated US TV network has announced that it's making a direct follow-up to Larian Studios' multi-award-winning title, Baldur's Gate 3. Craig Mazin, one of the co-creators of HBO's The Last of Us TV adaptation, will lead development on the project. HBO will produce the series alongside Wizards of the Coast and the latter's parent company, Hasbro Entertainment, who you guys know my wife worked for a number of years. For those unfamiliar with Baldur's Gate 3, it's a role-playing game set in the world of Dungeons & Dragons and also used all the Dungeons & Dragons core rules, in which you create your own character and play through its 100-hour-plus story along with friends. Now, what's really interesting about this, and there are several elements that are really interesting. What's really interesting about this is it's not like Last of Us, which was an adaptation of the game. This is going to be a sequel. So the events of this Baldur's Gate show will pick up after the events of Baldur's Gate 3. It's not a reimagining or a adaptation of Baldur's Gate 3. It's picking up after, and I think that is fascinating. Now, let me talk for a second about this guy, Craig Mazin. If you guys have seen Chernobyl, to me, and I don't say it lightly, I do really honestly think Chernobyl is the single greatest miniseries ever put on television. I mean, I really do. And I've watched and liked a lot of miniseries in my life, obviously. But I've never had one that's made the impact with the pure writing of it as deep and as profound as Chernobyl. Then he went on to co-create the series and co-showrun and write Last of Us for the screen. And all he did was make it the first video game adaptation ever to be nominated for the top honor in the world of television. Last of Us Season 1 got nominated for Best Drama Series. Just think about that. Now, it's happened again since it happened to Fallout, and it will happen again in the future. It was the first time ever that a video game adaptation of any kind got nominated for the top award in its field, television or movies. Never happened before at that point. And it also got him nominated for Best Writing of a Series. He obviously has already won a couple of Emmy Awards. And we're talking about, this is the guy. This man is the one who is bringing us Baldur's Gate to HBO. And guys, all I can say is, if you are somebody who is excited about having video game material translated in a good way and brought to the screen, you're eating good right now. Because we're still hot on the heels of them announcing a guy who, in my opinion, is the single greatest showrunner of all time, Ronald D. Moore, is bringing us God of War. And of course, we've talked a lot about the casting announcements that have been coming out about that. And that looks great and sounds amazing. And now we're finding out that HBO is bringing us Baldur's Gate. And here's why I love what they're doing with it. Because they are taking the world of Baldur's Gate, but they're setting it after the events of Baldur's Gate 3, it gives them the best of both worlds. It means they can make it a Dungeons and Dragons true feeling Baldur's Gate world, and they can take advantage of all of that. But at the same time, they don't have their hands cuffed by the story of Baldur's Gate 3. They get to make their own thing. I mean, yes, it happens in the same world that happened in Baldur's Gate 3. I'm sure the events of Baldur's Gate 3 are going to, pardon me, help shape and inform the world of the series. But they get to actually, with a clean sheet of paper, get to write their own story in that world that takes place after the events of Baldur's Gate 3. It's amazing. And you get Craig Mazin doing it. Honestly, other than Ronald D. Moore, there is not a single person they could have announced doing a Baldur's Gate 3 and showrunning it that would be better news than it being Craig Mazin. I defy anybody to come up with a better name. I mean, Ronald D. Moore, but he's already busy with God of War, so we got that coming. There's not another person you can name that would be a better fit and better sheer talent. Multiple Emmy wins, has worked in the genre. Hell, he's already taken a video game adaptation and got it nominated twice, both seasons, for Best Drama Series at the Emmys. There's nobody better to do it. I mean, he's not just uber talented, as we saw in Chernobyl, but he's already got vast experience and a track record of success working with the video game genre. You can't find somebody else who's got that resume for this. So to me, this is absolutely amazing. I'm incredibly stoked for it. I'm very excited. I mean, I've been saying this for a couple of months, but I'm going to start my next run of Baldur's Gate 3 here pretty soon. So that's going to be coming soon enough. I'm very excited about it. Cannot wait. Guys, we want to take a second and thank the sponsor of today's episode, PrizePicks. Well, the big game is almost here, and there's no better way to cash in during America's biggest sporting event than with PrizePicks, where it always feels good to be right. With the football season coming to a close, this is your last chance to jump into football action before next year, and PrizePicks is making it easy by giving you $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. What I've always loved about PrizePicks is how simple it is. You're just picking more or less on player projections, building your lineup, and rooting at home while you watch the game. I also really like their early payouts feature. If a player gets off to a hot start, you can cash out before the game even ends. And with the new social feed, you can follow other players, copy lineups that you like, or use them as inspiration for your own. So don't miss out. Download the PrizePicks app today and use the code CAMPEA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CAMPEA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Multi-time Emmy award-winning showrunner Craig Mazin, the guy who made the greatest miniseries of all time in Chernobyl and got Last of Us not once but twice nominated for Best Drama at the Emmys, is now going to be doing a Baldur's Gate series for HBO. I cannot wait for it. I'm pretty stoked about this. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure you like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget, we have a daily podcast called the John Campea Show podcast, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting app of choice. Go and subscribe to it today so it'll be there when you need it.